Hi everybody at home. I'm going to talk you through the Year 4 Maths for next week, which is the week beginning Monday the 5th of October. Now, remember, on each slide I will show you a little picture of what the activity sheet looks like. Please don't use that picture as your main form of the activity sheet because the picture is a little bit too small. There is a PDF on the school website that's got all of the activity sheets on, and it's much clearer. I've just put the little photos on each slide so that you know which sheet I am referring to. On Monday, we're going to be continuing our work with rounding. Now, last week we were looking at rounding to the nearest 10 and rounding to the nearest 100. So today we're going to continue with that. Now, if you look at your do now, I want us to revisit rounding numbers to the nearest 100. For example, let's look at the number 325. When I'm rounding 325, I'm thinking what multiple of 100 comes before and what multiple of 100 comes after. 300 comes before 325 and 400 comes after 325. I know that because there is a 2 in the tens column, that 325 is closer to 300. It's only 25 away from 300. Whereas it's 75 away from 400. And if I draw that out on a number line, I can clearly see that 325 is much closer to 300 than it is to 400. Alternatively, you might use the rhyme that you know from school to help you to round. We find the place of the hundreds. We look next door. Next door in the tens column is a 2. If it's 5 or higher, we add one more to the hundreds. But because it's a 4 or less, we let the hundreds rest and the 3 stays the same. I'll say that rhyme again. Find the place, look next door, 5 or higher, add one more. 4 or less, let it rest. So therefore 325 rounds to 300. Then today, for our main activity as our independent task, we'll be rounding to the nearest 1,000. This follows the same things that we were doing last week when we rounded to the nearest 10 and the nearest 100. Let me talk you through question 1. Round 3,280 to the nearest 1,000. You can see on the number line I've placed 3,000 at the start of my number line and 4,000 at the end. This is because 3,000 and 4,000 are the multiples of 1,000 that sit either side of 3,280. I have placed 3,280 on my number line, and you can clearly see it's closer to 3,000. This means it rounds down. Let's go through that rhyme again. Find the place, look next door, 5 or higher, add one more. 4 or less, let it rest. We find the place of the thousands, which is a 3. We look next door, which is a 2. Because it's 4 or less, we let the 3 rest. Therefore, it rounds to 3,000. Repeat with 3,591 and 3,700. I've then given some similar examples for question 2. Question 3 looks similar to how we completed them last week. On the number line, you need to label the multiple of 1,000 that comes before the number in the question and the multiple of 1,000 that comes after the number in the question. You should then try and place the number in the question on the number line and then tell me what it rounds to. Remember that the squiggly equal sign means approximately equal to. Question 4, you've been given 3 different numbers, but you need to round to the nearest 10, 100 and 1,000. The number is made up either of place value counters, and the number in digits, or in Roman numerals. And number 5 is a question in context, thinking about how many miles are on the clock when I'm buying a new car. Let me know how you get on today. On Monday we'll be completing 2 maths lessons. This is our second maths lesson, and this lesson consolidates everything we've done in the past few lessons on rounding to the nearest 10, 100 and 1,000. For you do now, I've given you 3 numbers which I want you to round to the nearest 10, 100 and 1,000. You could either start with the number, round it to the nearest 10, round it to the nearest 100 and round it to the nearest 1,000 and work across in the row, or you could work down each column. So look at the round to the nearest 10 column and round 754 to the nearest 10, 4,605 to the nearest 10 and 8,747 to the nearest 10 before working down the nearest 100 column and then the nearest 1,000 column. I don't mind. Just remember your rhyme. Find the place, look next door, 5 or higher, add 1 more, 4 or less, let it rest. Your independent task is similar to your do now, except you've got a lot more numbers. I've given some of the answers in for you, but you need to check. I might be fibbing and some of them might be wrong. See what you think, whether I've been kind and given you the correct answers or whether I've been mean and given you some that you need to spot my mistakes. For the second half of your independent task, you need to look at which number is the odd one out in each little grid. So number 1, 4,275, 3,573, 3,709, 4,501. There might be more than one possibility for each question. I'm looking at grid number 1, and I know that when I round to the nearest thousand, 4,275 rounds to 4,000. 3,573 rounds to 4,000. 3,709 rounds to 4,000. But 4,501 rounds up to 5,000. So I could say 4,501 is the odd one out. You might solve it in a different way. I wonder, you might round it to the nearest 10 or the nearest 100. See if you can get a different answer to me. Repeat for question 2 and question 3. Question 4 says I have 4 number cards, 1,400, 2,400, 3,400, 4,400. I add 2 of the cards together. Then I round my answer to the nearest thousand, and my answer is 6,000. Which 2 cards could I have chosen? I wonder if there's more than one possibility. You'll be fine with today's lesson. It's consolidating everything we've already done. Good luck! For Tuesday's lesson, this is the end of our unit on 4-digit numbers, so it's revisiting everything we've covered in these 10 lessons since we started this unit. Number 1, it's looking at the place value of a 4-digit number. What is the value of the digit 7 in that number? Same for part B, what is the value of the digit 4? I bet you can tell me the value of each of those digits in both of those numbers. Number 2, look at the digit cards, 5, 9, 3 and 1. Make the greatest number possible and make the smallest number possible. You can only use each digit card once. Think very carefully about where you place each digit and why you choose to place it there. You could write me an explanation as to why you choose to place each digit in which column. Question 3 and 4 revisits rounding again. I know you love rounding. Remember, find the place, look next door, 5 or higher, add 1 more, 4 or less, let it rest. Number 5, Ali puts these 5 numbers in their correct places on a number line. Write the number which is closest to 500 and write the number which is furthest away from 500. Have a little think how you'll solve that. You might use a number line. You might also need to use column addition or column subtraction. You might count on. Think about what your preferred method is and why. Good luck! Today we're going to look at Roman numerals for a one-off lesson. Since returning to school, we've been revisiting Roman numerals every day, particularly when we write our date, as we write our date in Roman numerals, and also through our lunar topic of the Romans. I've been really impressed with how good you are at Roman numerals, so I think you won't have any trouble with this at all. You do now. Tell me what each of the letters represents. I'll start you off. I means 1. V means 5. The way I remember this is because if I count from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the word 5 is the first letter that has a V in it. 1 doesn't have a V in it, 2 doesn't, 3 doesn't, 4 doesn't, but 5 does. That's how I remember V is 5. X is 10. I remember this because of 10-pin bowling. I really enjoy that. And when you score a strike and knock all 10 pins over, you get an X on the screen. X means 10. I wonder whether you can remember what L means. I'll give you a clue. If C is 100, because C for century is 100 years, L is less than 100. I'll give you a hint. L is 50. I wonder if you know what D means. L and D are the hardest ones, but the way I remember it is, well, think about M. M means millennium, and there's 1,000 years in a millennium. So D has got to be somewhere between 100 and 1,000, because C is 100 and M is 1000. Have a little think what you think D is. D is 500. Well done. So now I'm asking you to represent the following numbers in Roman numerals. I'll start you off. 15. 15 is made up of 10 and 5. 10 is X, 5 is V, so therefore 15 is XV. B. 21. I'll give you a hint. 21 is made up of 20 and 1. However, there gets to be some tricky ones later on because sometimes you have to use a subtraction. So for example, 9. 9, we talk about 9 being 1 less than 10. You might fall into the trap of thinking 9 is 5 and 4, which would be V, I, but unfortunately it's not. Remember, we can only have 3 I's. 3 is the maximum we can have. We can't ever have 4 I's. So therefore, we use 1 less than 10, so therefore it's 1x for 9. Don't be caught out by this, but like I say, I've been really impressed with your knowledge of Roman numerals so far since the start of year 4. For number 2, I want you to write the number in Roman numerals in one triangle, in digits in one triangle, and in words in the other triangle. So for each picture, you should have it in Roman numerals, digits, and words. Then question 3 and 4 are a little bit more problem solving. So what you've got to do is use the number machine to look at what goes in, what do we do to it, and what comes out. And for number 4, you have to solve it. There's a challenge. I wonder how you get on with it. Good luck! For today's math lesson, we're going to be looking at negative numbers. You do now is revisiting your knowledge from last week on rounding. I know you love rounding, so you'll be absolutely fabulous at it. 3 numbers, round to the nearest 10, 100 and 1000. You'll whiz through it. Then, for your independent task, you've got some number lines. Now, number lines can be horizontal or they can be vertical. In question 1, the number lines are horizontal. In question 2, the number lines are vertical, like with a thermometer. The best way to think about negative numbers is to think about temperature. The bigger the number, the hotter it is. The smaller the number, the colder it is. Look at the numbers -5 and -4, or we could say -5 and -4. Now, which is warmer or which is bigger? I would rather be -4 degrees than I would be -5 degrees because -4 is bigger than -5, just like -4 is warmer than -5. Now this is a little bit hard to get your head around because you would think that, well, 5 is bigger than 4, so -5 is bigger than -4. It's not. Always link it back to temperature. What would you rather be? You'd be pretty cold either way, but I'd definitely rather be -4 than -5. Complete the number line for number 1, filling the missing temperatures on the thermometers for number 2, and then number 3, explain Miss Foster's mistake. She's counting backwards out loud. She says 2, 1, -1, -2, -3. But she's made a mistake. What has she missed out? Remember, it doesn't matter whether you say minus or negative, it means the same thing. Question 4 and 5 is thinking about sequences with negative numbers. Can you spot any mistakes in those sequences? Can you continue my sequences? And then question 7 involves a butterfly on a number line. The butterfly starts at 5. It jumps 9 spaces to the left. Has her butterfly landed on the correct space? Explain. There's further examples there. I know you'll be super at negative numbers. Good luck! For today's lesson, we're starting a new unit on addition and subtraction. So, for your do now, I want you to match together the number with the words. Now, I'll start you off. The first word says 32 tens. If I've got 32 tens, I've got 32 lots of 10. I've got 32 multiplied by 10. 32 multiplied by 10 is 320. I wonder whether you can match the rest of them up. Then, for your independent task, don't get excited, it's not as easy as it looks. I've asked you what facts and derived facts can you find from using these part-whole models. The word derived, this might be new for some of you. If you derive a fact, you work out new facts based on what you know. So with my part-whole, I could say 3 add 6 is 9, 6 add 3 is 9, 9 take 3 is 6, 9 take 6 is 3. I've got a fact family of 4 facts, 2 addition facts, 2 subtraction facts. They're super easy facts. I don't want you to tell me that you know those facts. I know you do. But what I want you to do is to upscale. So for example, I could say 30 plus 60 is 90. Or 60 plus 30 is 90. Or 90 take 30 is 60. Or 90 take 60 is 30. Again, I've used my fact family. 2 addition facts, 2 subtraction facts. But again, some of them are too easy. Let me upscale again. This time, instead of upscaling by 10, I'm going to upscale by 100. 300 plus 600 is 900. 900 take 300 is 600. 900 take 600 is 300. You can think of 4 facts in the fact family. 2 addition facts, 2 subtraction facts. Keep upscaling. Can you upscale it by 10? Can you upscale it by 100? Can you upscale it by 1,000? Then, on part 2, I've given some examples. More part-wholes, so therefore I've given you some I know statements, but I want you to see if they're all correct. There might be some mistakes in there. It says correct it. Spot the incorrect fact and explain it, please, to make it correct. Good luck! On Friday, we'll be continuing our addition and subtraction unit. So, do now, what facts can you derive from known facts? Just like yesterday, choose some known facts. So, for example, 11 add 8 is 19. I could upscale it by 10, 100 and 1,000. For each time I upscale it, I can think of 4 facts, or I can derive 4 facts. 2 addition facts, 2 subtraction facts. For your independent task, you're going to use the given facts to work out addition and subtraction calculations. So, for example, 1,463 add 2,178 is 3,641. From that, I can work out some other calculations. I can work out 1,453 add 2,178. I don't need to do this in column addition. Look very carefully. 1,463, 1,453. What's different about those two numbers? The only difference you should spot is that the tens column has changed from a 6 to a 5, which means the second number is 10 less than the first number. The second number of 2,178 has stayed the same. So therefore my answer is going to be 10 less. So my answer will be 3,631. I didn't need to do 1,453 at 2,178 in a column. I could do it mentally because I knew 1,463 at 2,178 was 3,641. You need to look at the fact for each question that I've given you. I've given you either an addition fact or a subtraction fact. The question underneath will link to the question on the top. You need to spot why it links. There's only going to be one difference, which will allow you to work out the question on the bottom mentally. You don't need to do column addition or column subtraction. Good luck!